Hello, my name is Laura Rossbert. I am a student at Vanderbilt Divinity School where I'm getting my Master's of Divinity with a focus on gender and sexuality, and I'm also a national coach for the Call to Witness campaign for RMN. And I wanted to share with you why I am a part of this movement. When I graduated from college, I moved to Washington, D.C. to work for the Human Rights Campaign, a national organization that works for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender equality. And at the same time, moving to a new place, I obviously was looking for a church. And so I spent a good year and a half going to different churches every Sunday morning trying to find a community. And in DC, when you enter a new situation, the first thing people ask you is your name, and then the second thing they ask you is where you work. And they define you by where you work. And I was happy to be defined by the fact that I worked for HRC. But I could tell within that first encounter with a congregation whether or not I would be welcomed as somebody and my career and my vocation would be celebrated. And sadly, so often that answer was no. And so after a year and a half, I finally decided to visit a United Methodist church, Capitol Hill United Methodist. And I was quite concerned walking in the doors because I knew where the United Methodist stood on LGBT issues, and I knew I disagreed with them. But it came with a good recommendation, so I was willing to try it out. So I stepped foot into CHUM, as we call it, and I grabbed my bulletin and anxiously greeted somebody and sat down in a red felt pew and listened to the organ play. And just wondering and looking for clues of whether or not this would be a place that I could finally find a church home in DC. And the pastor stepped out to the front of the congregation to welcome us that morning. And she said, no matter where you come from or where you're going, no matter what you believe or what you doubt, no matter what you feel or just don't feel today, and no matter who you love, you are welcome to bring all of who you are into this space to be met by a God who knows you by name and wants to have a relationship with you. And tears streamed down my face because I knew that I had found my church home, finally a place where I could bring all of who I was. And what is interesting is CHUM had recently become a reconciling congregation. And because it didn't matter what you believed or what you doubted, people who hadn't been to church in decades started coming and asking questions in our Bible studies. Because it didn't matter where you came from or where you were going, the men who were sleeping on our steps at night started coming in, and one of them was eventually baptized in our church. And so we were all able to come and be what I feel the church is supposed to be, a community that loves and that questions and embraces everybody in this world. And I know I cannot be a part of the United Methodist Church without working day in and day out to change our church so everybody can be welcome in our beloved United Methodist Church.